Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Idaho Prenatal Equal Protection Act. I'm Senator Brandon Shippy from District 9. Before you is RS 31837. By saying that today we know for a fact that our worth and right to life as human beings is not derived from external circumstances or opinions, but from the Imago Dei. It's written in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Committee, the intent of this legislation is simple: to uphold the equal protection principle found in our U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 2 of the Idaho Constitution, to protect the lives of preborn children equally under Idaho's criminal and civil laws, just as we protect the lives of born individuals, to eliminate provisions in Idaho law to allow for intentional killing of preborn life or permit coercion against pregnant mothers. This legislation recognizes that life begins at fertilization and seeks to ensure both justice for preborn children and protection for mothers. This legislation amends Idaho Code to explicitly include preborn children in the definitions of person beginning at fertilization. This reflects the scientific, biological, and moral reality. If a baby in the womb, created in the image of God, is equally human as we are, and it is, then the intentional killing of a preborn child should be recognized and treated under homicide laws just as with any other human being. Homicide laws should apply equally to the preborn and ensure that cases involving their deaths are subject to the same presumptions, defenses, justifications, immunities, and clemencies that apply to a homicide of a person who has been born alive. If we truly believe in the equal humanity of the preborn, then our laws must uphold that truth in practice. This legislation, if passed, would not apply retroactively. It focuses only on future conduct and ensures fairness in its implementation. Laws prohibiting the killing of preborn children address intentional actions and not identity, just as laws against theft or domestic violence focus on conduct rather than criminalizing certain groups. This bill addresses the act of taking a human life and not mothers or doctors or any other persons as a category. Justice requires accountability for intentional actions. To exempt any group from accountability actually undermines the law's integrity and diminishes the value of the life being protected. Furthermore, this legislation establishes the dignity and equality of women in the law by allowing her full participation and equitable treatment in the moral and legal order. Because our laws do not treat self-managed abortions as homicide, pimps and traffickers thrive under such conditions. This legislation would protect vulnerable women from exploitation and ensure justice for their children. This legislation does not mandate the harshest penalties. Just as in other homicide cases, courts will consider circumstances such as coercion or ignorance, ensuring that justice remains proportional and merciful. We also recognize that other parties, such as coercive partners or abortion providers, may bear the greatest culpability. Doctors performing life-affirming procedures to save a mother's life are not considered to be committing homicide, even if those procedures unintentionally result in the death of the preborn child. This legislation recognizes that the primary goal in these situations is to save lives, and that doctors are protected when acting in good faith to save both the mother and the child whenever possible. This legislation does not address any medical procedure directly, but rather just the intentional killing of preborn children. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this legislation is about protecting the lives of all innocent human beings, being a voice for the voiceless, and ensuring that justice is administered equitably. This legislation is about ending our past superstitions and discrimination towards our preborn neighbors. The only constitutional authority that this legislature has to involve itself in a woman's pregnancy is its authority to protect all life equally under the law without partiality or discrimination, to do justice and only justice. This legislation affirms the sanctity of life, upholds the dignity of women, and fulfills our constitutional mandate to provide equal protection for all God's children under the law. I understand that this legislation may not receive a full hearing, but I respectfully ask for your support in printing this legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.